Welcome back to Chaos Corner. It's your old buddy, the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy. And I tell it like it is. I'll say that to say this. Same day coverage, live to tape, down here at the bunker, 16 feet below the surface of the earth for show number 35. Now, fans, you're not going to want to miss this one. You can see that it's very lively. I haven't been here in about 5 or 6 days, but what we're going to cover here today on Chaos Corner, and I'll say that to say this, we're going to talk AEW Dynamite recap from last night. We're also going to review Impact Full Surrender from this past weekend, and then the fallout that was on Impact on Access this past Tuesday night. You're not going to want to miss it. We're also going to review and even talk about Young Rock that was on last night with, obviously, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They really hit it out of the ballpark. We're in the middle of another snowstorm up here in the northeast corridor, so actually around the whole country. So I'm going to bring a lot of entertainment and levity and enjoyment here in the IWC. Now, follow me on all social media platforms. We're on Twitter right now. Well, and on YouTube. We're going to bounce over to YouTube for the Guardian of Chaos YouTube channel. Hit my profile link right now on Twitter, and you'll bounce right over there. Follow my boys over at the show, and that's at Mario_Chaos. Now, if you're not using them for branding or entrepreneurship or trying to put yourself over and get the rub, I don't know what you're doing. You're missing the spot. You're missing the pop. Again, at Big Daddy GOC, and the GOC is for the Guardian of Chaos on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on D Silver, whatever the heck that is, on Twitch, on all social media platforms, and of course, don't forget over on Gab, where you want your amended rights and your freedom of speech. So stand by. Show number 35, live to tape. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going over to YouTube. Don't you dare miss it. All right, now that the confusion and the chaos, if you will, is settled on over here to the YouTube channel, I can't thank you enough for being here. Let me lower the entertainment. Let me adjust the camera. There's a lot of bad medicine going on around there. Don't get me started. Let me lower this, fans. We'll just keep it to a low, dull roar. We are here at the bunker, Chaos Corner, show number 35. As I said, I told you all the different things that we're going to talk about and we're going to cover here. I just want to give a big shout out to start with to my boy, Mr. Hempel-Stillskin, and that's over at sweetheal.com for all your CBD products. And if you're not using Sweet Heal and going to the new website, rebranded, new logo, same product, locally owned, locally grown, support your small entrepreneurs and your small business. But if you're not going to Mr. Hempel-Stillskin and sweetheal.com for all your needs in CBD life, CBD wellness, I don't know what to tell you. I wouldn't put my name to it if it didn't work. And again, as I say on every show, and I said it on the last show, on show number 34, and I'll say it here live to tape on show number 35, I have it on my left knee. I have it on my right shoulder. I have it on the lower back. I'll take sometimes the tinctures before I go to sleep. It's unbelievable what it does for inflammation and anxiety and wellness in your life. So Sweet Heal, CBD, sweetheal.com, Mr. Hempel-Stillskin, I want to put that out there, implore that first, especially with the weather. Can you believe all the snowstorms that are happening here? Not just in the northeast corridor, but around the country. So I hope everybody's staying safe, staying together, and I just want to start off my opening monologue to tell you what we're going to cover, where you can follow me on social media, the different things that I'm involved with, and what I want to cover here tonight. There's a lot of things happening in the IWC, in the pro wrestling world, the wrestling community, if you will. Let me adjust here. We're not even 5 minutes in yet. Let me see what's going on. Let me see what's going on here. We got this squared. We got it right down here at the bunker. Even though there's a snowstorm, limited capacity. Listen, here in the Constitution State with the pandemic, and I'll briefly address that because we're still in the middle of the COVID-19 and different strains and how it's affecting the entertainment community and pro wrestling and the sports world. It's unbelievable. We're trying to run shows, whether it be Paradise Alley Pro Wrestling, AEW, MLW, Impact, New Japan. It doesn't really matter. Ring of Honor. All these different groups right now are having a tough time with the pandemic, and it's really affecting with the crowds, especially with the WWE product. I wanted to touch on that first and where we're going with that as far as vaccines and when we're going to get live capacity and what it's really done to affect the business. It's lightening up, it's loosening up. Even here in the Constitution state, we don't know what's going to continue to happen moving forward, but we're trying to stay positive. But it's really affected the business, and that's the one thing that stood out as I watched everything, because I reviewed everything as I talked. But that's what I want to get to here, and just make sure that we got everything technical, because I want to get that out of the way first. I want to thank Avi Klein and the Wrestling with Anything But podcast over there on Facebook Live and on Twitch and on Patreon. I mean, he's on 7 days a week, a couple of hours a day, live podcasts, Wrestling with Anything But. I always tell you about the lineup, but I was fortunate enough to be on Maintaining the Truth with Paul Roma and Avi Klein last night in a segment called Mario's Corner with, obviously, Mario Mancini, my former podcast partner. How funny. Mario's Corner. Chaos Corner. I think I did a live Chaos Corner with WWE Hall of Famer and former world champion Mr. Bob Backlund in a Paradise Alley professional wrestling ring for a live event March of 2019, last year, for the Hercules Hernandez Memorial Tournament in honor of Paul Roma's former partner, God rest his soul, Ray Hercules Hernandez of Power and Glory. Do you see the connection there? I'm always talking about these theories that I think about, whether it be the Big Daddy name and Kevin Nash and Diesel after my tapes had been up there and different creative processes, or now Chaos Corner, Mario's Corner. Is that paying homage, the commissionership from Bruno Sammartino to myself to Tony Atlas? Thank you, my brother, for paying homage and being on Mario's Corner last night. We had some technical issues, but again, fans, it was quite a hoot to be on there with Roma and his podcast, Maintaining the Truth, and Avi Klein, Wrestling with Anything But, in the new segment, Mario's Corner with my good friend Mancini. If you're not watching this podcast, which is on 7 days a week, here we are Thursday, like at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, noon time out in Hawaii. Aloha for everybody out there. Peheaoi, mahalo. Aloha at the same time, you know I say that. Don Morocco and Making Waves, the WWE Hall of Famer, will be on tonight on Facebook Live. And so I implore you, folks. I'm lowering it, guys. I was going to get to the crowd that was here, the limited crowd. I'm going to tie this up with a bow, get off my opening monologue. So if you're not listening to that, let me tie this up. You're not listening to Glacier Ray Lloyd, Breaking the Ice, Bill DeMott, Face Value, Maintaining the Truth, Paul Roma, Making Waves, Don Morocco, Road to Recovery, Duke the Dumpster Drosy, Unmasking the Truth, Del Wilkes, all with Avi Klein. And then, of course, the combination of Second City Television and Saturday Night Live from 25 years ago, the Green Room on Saturday nights. If you're not watching this platform, and then it's just been announced that on Mondays, beginning in a couple of weeks, beginning of March, Ken Patera, the Olympic strongman, is also on board. Listen to that lineup. Again, you know, people have said to me and gotten to me with emails. I've gotten a lot of feedback since we've been off for damn near a week. People giving me feedback and putting other people over and giving them a rub. And that's what I do here. That's what I enjoy best. Not only being a content creator, but putting over other people's work that I respect and admire. And I'll continue to do that. And that platform is one of the best. And you know, whoever, all the other people that I put over and who I talk to. But I'll be tuning in tonight for Making Waves. Tomorrow night with Duke the Dumpster Drosy. I'm sure I'll check out the Green Room on Saturday. I know I'll be watching Unmasking the Truth for sure on Sunday nights. And then Monday, whether it's the preview review show, I don't know what to tell you, fans. Coming up on 3 million viewers, and I know I'm going on and on because we're coming up on the 10-minute mark here, averaging anywhere from 350 to 550,000 views per episode. And that's daily. Coming up on 3 million viewers per the show, Wrestling with Anything But, in 7 months, 7.5 months. And a big shout out, because I didn't get a chance to do it because I was set off a little bit last night. And you know I have my issues with the FCC for years and thrown off every medium and platform, not because of anything that I do. Look, the chains are almost falling off, but show number 35. I know I'm going on and on. Get to the show, Chaos. Get to AEW and Impact, but here's to WWAB and Avi Klein, their #1 sponsor. And I'm not going to go off. Right guard. The sport is what the Guardian of Chaos, Big Daddy, has here at Chaos Corner for the sponsors of WWAB. I'm not looking for any sponsors. I'm not asking for any money. I'm not on a paywall. I do this for fun. And listen, I have nothing against you if that's what you do for your living, because I'm trying to do that someday too. Who knows, right? But we all know I'm retired. But anyway, shout out to the right guard. So I want to appreciate everyone over there and having me on, especially the Paradise 4 and Paul Roma, Maintaining the Truth, and Avi Klein, and of course my good friend Mario Mancini. But here's what I want to get to. I'd like to start off with mentioning the Young Rock before I get on to anything, as we're 11 minutes here. We're having a good time, and we do have a few select people here, but you know, it's family between the COVID, which I was talking about before I bounced on, and the snowstorms all around the country, the power outages, it's unbelievable. But if you didn't catch the Young Rock with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, it was unbelievable. The men that played Afa and Sika and the Iron Sheik and Andre the Giant, they were almost dead-on spit images of what Young Rock was on. And to have the business be portrayed in such a positive light on national mainstream media, and it really was a joy. And then, of course, you know, I have a personal connection to him. Nothing crazy. I don't want anyone to call me a fraud or say you're a phony or you took one picture with him. That's not the case. Booked with the World Wrestling Zone and AWA Superstars in Bally's in Brooklyn. And the posters are up here, and I put the pictures out on social media. We made an appearance together. Had an in-ring matches that day while The Rock was there signing autographs. We got to make an appearance together. I'll never forget it. And then, of course, years later, hanging out with the legendary Kowloon in Boston, and a show at the Boston Garden, and then eating afterwards, and just hanging out with all the guys, traveling, learning the business. I was an active manager at that time, working for several big groups. He was a great guy, and so just he's got a connection here to the Constitution State too, in a town not too far down the road. A lot of the big time, we know the headquarters is here in the WWE, but a lot of the guys lived here in the 70s and the 80s and 90s. And some still to this day, whether it be the Wild Samoans or where they stayed and lived in certain different areas. People you used to see at the gym, from Jesse Ventura to Mr. Fuji to Don Morocco to Rick Martel to Paul Roma. I mean, it really was the Wild Samoans. So that's the history that's right here in the home of the WWE. In the shadows of Titan Towers. So to see the business being portrayed like that in such a positive light, that moving on and telling the history and telling all of Rock's incredible story, what a guy. And again, to make the personal connection, he was nothing but a gentleman, and gave of his time and gave advice and let me pick his brain, and even commented on my eyebrow while we're in the limo talking with the former legend there from the WWE, Ivory, and Lillian Garcia. What a night there in Kowloon's with the Dudley Boys and Rikishi and Christian and Edge and Jericho, John Cena. It was a night we'll never forget. And my buddy Alan with the limo, and the next night leading into shows to working with Umaga and Rikishi, and then working against them and the Haas brothers. What nights. I'll never forget it. And then the autograph session with Charity King Lawler. Well, all those different things. So, and now to see it from his childhood, to know the connection here, and to know that you saw him as a star, and just when he hit big, because the Bally's opening that we did together with Justin Roberts, who was also there now, who worked for the WWE, the ring announcing legend, now current AEW superstar, and the way he rose his tongue, Justin Roberts. Yeah, there's nobody like Justin Roberts in the business right now. There really isn't, as far as ring announcers. You talk about the buffers and Justin Roberts. So he was also there, along with Heaven and Hell, the Turbo Twins, in 2000. That's when we made that initial appearance in that first meeting and then happened to run into him. So that was the era. So what a great time. And I want you to check it out, and especially the different characters and who plays the Rock's father, Rocky Johnson. Also, the Yokozuna documentary, I happened to watch it after NXT TakeOver pay-per-view, which we're not going to review here, but it was an excellent show. I will say NXT TakeOver was a great show. I'll give it a solid 7 as opposed to a soft 8. No pun intended. Listen, I'm not talking about robot. No pun intended. But it was excellent. After NXT, I was fortunate enough, and I think I mentioned it on show number 34, to watch the Yokozuna documentary. Now, it's well known, my history with the Samoan dynasty. Again, I'll throw out the history, the facts, the details. You take it however you want. Do your research. Go to my channel. Stay on the channel. Do the research. What a documentary telling about his life and just the different connections with Afa and Sika. And of course, you know, Rikishi and Samu and the Tonga Kid and just the different people and Lloyd and L.A. Smooth and Rosie and Jamal and Little Sam. I mean, you know, throw all the different names out there and the legacy of the Samoan dynasty and the story of Yoko and how big he really was as a star and as a big man, truly one of the best in the business. I'll put him in the league of maybe Bam Bam Bigelow, who I consider perhaps the best ever. Former 2-time WWE champion. You know the history that I've worked with just about every legendary Samoan you can think of and been humbled and honored by that. And they've really taught me a lot all the way back to 1983, and here we are in 2021. And worked against Yoko and with Yoko. Again, another gentleman that was just, to me, the biggest heart, the biggest person in life, physically, and for what he did for other people. So it really was an incredible documentary. I implore you to go out there and watch that. So I got all that different stuff that I wanted to talk about. So now let's move on to, as we're 17 minutes in with the solar power. Speaking of that, we talk about solar and all the stuff that's happening in Texas. They made it political, the turbines, this, that, coal, fossil. As you see, the chains are falling off as we go on here with the show. Show number 35, live to tape from Chaos Corner, down here in the bunker. Thanks for being here. So we talk about all that. It's being frozen because of the weather, and people want to say the greenhouse effect and all that. Get your head out of your ass. Solar. This is on solar right now down here in the bunker. Had problems on Wrestling With Anything But last night with maintaining the truth, but where do you think this music is coming from? Solar. So there's a lot of different things, and they've made it political. I'm all for, we have to use, listen, nuclear energy is probably the best way to go. We have to keep our miners and the pipelines and everything in business and the jobs. That's just my opinion. There's a place for solar and green energy, but as a backup plan, not as your main source. It's just not going to work that way. Listen, I'm no culturist. I'm no agriculturist. I'm just going to tell you how I feel about that and where I come from. Because when they start making, whether it be sports, entertainment, different things that we're talking about right now that are off the subject, you put the chains back on because that's how you're being treated. And whether it be speech, platforms, politics, we're not going to get into that. I try to keep that off these shows. We got the music down now. We're less than 20 minutes in, and now we're going to get down to business and the task at hand, covering AEW Dynamite, and then I'll recap back to NXT. Last night, AEW opened up with Matt Hardy, okay? Big Party Matt Hardy and Hangman Page taking on Angelico and Jack Evans. Now, listen, the bottom line is Hardy pins Angelico with the twist of fate. You knew there was no chance Angelico and Jack Evans were going to win, okay? But very, very risky and sloppy moves by Jack Evans. Now, and listen, Angelico, I'm not here to criticize or bash the product. We know the history with Matt Hardy and his injuries and the different risks he took as the Hardy Boys, and even recently with Sammy Guevara. I just don't understand why you continue if you want to get in this business and stay in this business, and you see what Matt Hardy's going through, to be sloppy like that. And it's because of the pandemic. I get it. You're not getting your active in-ring work. You used to be in the ring 5-6 times a week, practicing or doing the shows or doing whatever it is, tapings, and now maybe it's once. So everybody's rusty, but that's how you get dangerous. That's how you get injured. And that's the trend I'm going to talk about here for AEW Dynamite. Although great talent, great shows, that's why I'm covering it. It gets the biggest ratings, you know, very risky. And Jack Evans really made it very risky on AEW Dynamite last night. But that's the bottom line. Afterwards, there's an in-ring promo between Hardy and Page. We know where that's leading. I'm personally looking forward to Revolution. That's what's coming out of that. Hardy and Page teaming together, but where they're going with that storyline is Revolution, where Hardy and Page are going to face each other. And I think that's going to be an excellent match. I believe that Hangman Page is very underrated. Matt Hardy, as we know, is a legend. I also have a small history, and I like to throw it out here because it's my channel, and that's why you would tune in to hear my take and my stories from the business. Had a chance to work personal security for Matt Hardy on a handful of occasions. No edit button, nothing like that. It's snowing outside. Cut me some slack. I don't have the halls yet. Back in the 03, 04, 05 era, while I was still active as a manager in ring, I also subcontracted out, and you'll see on all my social media, independent contractor, and worked security for John Cena, Matt Hardy, Chuck Wepner. And Boyd, again, he was much younger, obviously, back then, but still a legend, and you saw where he was going. Another guy that would let you pick his brain. You sit there, he'll answer any question you want, as long as you're respectful. That's how it is in the business. So I'm looking forward to seeing Hardy and Page on Revolution, and we're going to get into that. From there, AEW Dynamite, again, that's why I love the show and giving you the personal connections of the stars that I was able and blessed to cross paths with, whether it was 1 time, 5 times, or 150 times. That's what makes this show, Chaos Corner, something different, and that's why you tune in. And to give you my take on what you want to hear about the business. If you don't want to watch it, you want to catch up and be entertained and look at something that's, I get it. I got a face for radio. I've said that before. Moves us on to the next announcement. And listen, I'm not saying I'm in agreement with it. I am a Shaq fan, but what they're doing by bringing mainstream attention and being talked on all sorts of media outlets, you got to give Tony Khan and AEW and Cody Rhodes credit for what they're doing. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but Shaquille O'Neal is getting back in the ring. He's been in the ring before. We know it. WCW, WWE. He's been in the ring before. Shaquille O'Neal, I'll give him props. He supports law enforcement, a true legend. Shaq is teaming up with the female beast, Jade Cargill, and they're going to take on Cody, who is the man in AEW. Let's make no mistake about it. And Red Velvet, because obviously Brandy's pregnant, Cody's wife, we know that. And that's for March 3rd. That's next week. That's the big announcement. Now, next week's show, a lot of people are already pissing on it. I'm not going to, I'll still watch it. It's not one of their most stacked shows. I get it. You see the difference down there with the snow even in Jacksonville and how the crowd is more empty and everything's cavernous and the noise is blocking out the announcer team of Excalibur and JR and whoever sits down in there, whether it's a Cody or Tony Schiavone. So that part is a little off, but I like the camera angles. The in-ring work is sloppy. I'm just going to say it, although it is what it is. The mainstream media that's going to be on next week's show and having Shaq get back into the ring, I don't care where it's going to go. I'm not saying I like the storyline, but you're bringing in what you want, which is ratings, which equals money. And if we can make money together, that's what this business is all about, and entertain the people. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. So it's going to be an interesting watch. It's going to be like watching a Tyson fight or a Conor McGregor fight at this point or something to that effect. It's going to be entertainment, and isn't that what we want? Next, we go on to the Revolution contract signing. I already led into this between Hardy and Page. This is what they went for a commercial with the Shaq, Jade Cargill, and what they're pushing for next week. We get back into Hardy and Page, and they have the Jaguars mascot come out, of all things. Tony Khan, Jacksonville Jaguars. They're in Jacksonville. Now, he comes out, and he brings a contract, and they determine that Revolution, and I already led into this to open up, it's going to be a big money match. And by that, they're going to compete at Revolution, Hardy and Page, and compete for paychecks. Pinks, punk. Get it? Pinks, punk. If you ever watched Grease, the legendary movie with John Travolta. So they're playing for, or they're grappling for, or the bout is going to be, the payday is your first quarter earnings. So I like the storyline. I like to twist that. The big money match. Hardy pays to kick the ass. Okay? Angelico and Evans, Dark Order. Page and Hardy, they get into it. I'm not sure where this was coming from, but Angelico and Evans were involved. Dark Order comes out to save Hangman Page. So they're still trying to recruit him there. As I go through the thought process, you look at the notes, you go through what you just viewed, from what you saw. So the Dark World Order, that's where they're going. They're still trying to recruit Page. They come out and they save Page from Hardy. So that's what we have going into Revolution. I like the angle. Dark World Order has really grown on me. I've been a fan of theirs. And today is Thursday. You do know what day it is, right? As we're in the beginning of the Lent season here. Pay homage to that as well. Always messages here on Chaos Corner. From there, we jump into, so again, Revolution. We'll get off Matt Hardy and Adam Page right now, but that's something to see in the whole Dark Order thing and where they're going to go with that in AEW Dynamite. And that's what they keep doing here. No matter what you want to say about it, Cornette or Meltzer or whoever different people out there to talk about this and cover it and want to piss all over it, they're making stars. They're making you come back for more. The ratings are still hanging in there. Who knows what's going to happen when they open up? We'll get on to the whole New Japan and what's happening with bringing everyone over from there. It's wide open, and that's due to Omega and Jericho. So let's get on to Marvez is backstage now. He's with all of Inner Circle. Proud and powerful, Santana and Ortiz, they address the tag team title match that they have coming up. From there, MJF goes off and he addresses Sammy Guevara, who we know is no longer in the Inner Circle. Jericho steps in, actually tells MJF to shut up. And he's says that MJF actually goaded Sammy, but that's neither here nor there. Jericho alludes that Sammy is, to quote Goodfellas or Bronx Tale or The Sopranos, he's dead to me. That's what Jericho says about Sammy. So we're just going to see where that goes as far as the whole Inner Circle. But again, I like the mix of promos and what they're doing here for AEW. Again, storytelling, psychology, they're making you come back for more. And that's what's leading into Revolution, which is coming up on March 7th. From there, we go into the Women's World Championship Eliminator. We know it's being held in Japan. And for all my followers over there on the Pac Rim, konnichiwa. I hope to be back someday for another tour. And also here in the USA. So that I like the international flavor. We see the New Japan, what's going on with Kenta and maybe Okada and Ibushi, and who knows what's going to happen. No, it's not God bless you. I'm talking about the guys from New Japan, IWGP. Well, what do you mean? You see how I get heckled here? When you do live stuff, you have to be prepared to be heckled when you're live and you're out on the road and you're making live appearances. So do you see the connection of what's happening? It's on Monday, and it's on YouTube, and I'd like to see people using YouTube as a medium, whether it be AEW for using it for dark, whether it be MLW, which we aren't covering here on Show 35, but we are very strong supporters of MLW, Ring of Honor, of every product. You folks understand that, and that's why we cover it all, including WWE. I grew up on the WWF and the WWF, and when they took the F out, I don't know. I'm just saying it. Let me not get off. Let me stick to let me be a taskmaster like Kevin Sullivan. We're back on to Monday on YouTube for AEW, the quarterfinals. They're going to be covering the Women's World Championship. Now, if you've seen the highlights from Japan and from the USA, a lot of very good female talented, qualified grapplers that I'm hoping are going to affect the AEW roster and make the AEW roster up to, say, an NXT or WWE, SmackDown, and Raw, or even she's an Impact. Because we know that Taya Valkyrie, the breaking news there as I'm covering the women, she signed with WWE. It's going to be an NXT. Big kudos to Taya, who I've been singing her praises for quite some time. Taya Valkyrie from Lucha Underground, married to John Morrison. Let's see how they use her, and hopefully they won't bury Taya. Kind of like my version of a Tony Storm. But it's another story for another time. You see the mold over there. Let me not get crazy. Who I'm impressed with from the Women's World Championship, and I'm predicting out of Japan will be Asia Kong. If you haven't seen Asia Kong or Aja Kong, whatever they call her, an incredible grappler. So I predict her to come out of the Japanese side. I believe that Thunder Rosa, I think she's a no-brainer to come out of this side. That's just my prediction. That's where they went into AEW Dynamite. So it's on Mondays on YouTube. You're going to want to watch the highlights. It really is something, which led into the first round matchup on the American side. The NWA champion, Serena Deeb. Again, who knows what's going on with Billy Corgan and the NWA and all the different talent, whether it be Thunder Rosa, who I just mentioned, or different people that have come over from NWA. You see that they're all different folks that are emerging from New Japan, from Impact, and it's just great for the business and for what we do here in the IWC. So Serena Deeb comes out, and then returning, the first ever AEW champion. Now listen, she's very petite, very small grappler. I compare her to a female Marco Stunt, maybe. But Rio came back, the first ever AEW championship. Now she returned. It wasn't a bad match. Several different reversals here, but Rio ends up pinning Deeb. So you see what Tony Khan and the powers that be, the boys there, Young Bucks, Omega, Cody, you see what they think of Rio. Now, for me, not my kind of grappling, Rio. I want the more strong style. But she sells for AEW in the front office. I guess that's all that matters. Now, Rio goes on to face Thunder Rosa on Monday. That's a match you're going to want to watch. And if Rio comes out there, I don't know how believable that is. They're really not using Thunder Rosa the right way. I don't know if it's because of her, the front office, the COVID. Who knows? But that's what you're going to have on Monday. That's why I'm going to tell you to check that out in the women's tournament, which you know I'm not a huge fan of, but you got to respect it and support it. And it's getting better and better as long as they don't go intergender. I'm not down with that. Unless it's a mixed tag team and you keep it as a specialty match. That's just my prerogative, my viewpoint. If you don't like it, change the fucking channel. It is what it is. I enjoy women's wrestling, and it's the hottest thing going in the world today. So you're going to want to see that. To me, that's a big upset. Now, she didn't win the NWA title, Rio, but Serena Deeb to lose to Rio, I get it. Rio was the first ever AEW champion, but it kind of knocks the NWA women's title down a notch, in my opinion. So let's forge on through here. That was the first round match. You're going to want to keep an eye on that. Next, we go into, from there, let's make sure that we have everything down. Look at that. When you do your notes, when you're on top of your homework, when you're a professional, you've been doing this for over 30 years, put it on my resume, this is what happens here at Chaos Corner. We go into the Jade Cargill promotion again, really pushing it for March 3rd with Shaquille O'Neal. Fans are not going to want to miss it. So I'm going to hop right over that. Jade Cargill, if you haven't seen her. Unbelievable. They have her and Shaq in the gym doing free throw shots. I don't know what the heck that has to do with anything. And then Shaq finally makes one himself. But again, mainstream media putting asses in seats, making it relevant, making money. That's what it's all about. So we're going to watch it one way or another, which leads into the next matchup on Dynamite from last night. Orange Cassidy comes out with Chuck Taylor to take on, again, another story I alluded to earlier, whether it be Big Daddy, Diesel, different things, things that are ironic or conspiracy theories, and now the same thing here. Different people I know and connections, even to this day. Luther comes out, the Chaos Project with Serpentico. So you got Orange Cassidy with Chuck Taylor from Best Friends and Luther with Serpentico from Chaos Project. Yeah, that's right, Chaos Project, here on Chaos Corner with the Guardian of Chaos. I'll say that to say this. It's me, it's the GOC. What do you want me to tell you? The bottom line is with this, Orange Cassidy comes out, he pins Luther. It was a high-impact match, a couple of dangerous spots, power bombs outside of the ring. I just don't understand it. Luther's damn near my age. I get Chaos, the Guardian of Chaos, the Chaos Project. And the finisher, they call an orange punch, but it's basically what Roman Reigns does and what several other people have done, a basic Superman punch, but we'll call it an orange punch. And so Orange Cassidy goes over on Luther. If anyone thought that Luther was going to be Orange Cassidy, well, then I guess you got your head further up your ass than I think, and you may have the brain of a dehydrated baby. I'm just saying. I'll say that to say this. Let's move on because from there they review the last week, and I covered on show number 34, alluding to it. For the TNT title, they put a nice video package together of Darby Allin, the champion, and Joey Janela. Again, to look at Joey Janela, you wouldn't think much of him, but the man could work. I'm going to say that to say this. He really can. So that was a nice package of video highlights of Darby and Janela last week, and if you missed it, go back and check it out because it was a hell of a match. Guys taking unnecessary risks. They'll have no longevity. That's just my opinion. I don't want to sound like Cornette or be a bitter guy or be called Vince Russo or Eric Bischoff or do you understand? But that's just an opinion. We're all allowed to have it. We go into Sting and Team Taz, okay? And they showed that video, which I alluded to and talked to, where they took Darby and they put him in a body bag and they tied him to the back of the car and dragged him through the parking lot. Now, you can't make this up. This is old school stuff. This is stuff that was done back with the Horsemen and Dusty Rhodes and Magnum TA and all that stuff back in the 80s. Similar promos. You got to love it. Hey, listen, even PAPW did it. If you remember, Matthias DiNapoli and Zane Bernardo and R.J. Rude and the Pyramids of Power when they threw him in the back of the trunk of the car. I remember that at PAPW. You remember that, right? Here in the shadows of Titan Towers, but I digress. So here comes Team Taz. It comes out with Taz, Starks, and Cage. Now they come out and they call out Sting after showing the video packages from Darby to Janela to what they did to Darby dragging him along. Team Taz in the body bag. Again, you have to see it to believe it. It was unbelievable. Now, they're in the ring. Now, Taz, there really isn't many people better at a promo except maybe Moxley. He's unbelievable at the mic. Maybe Kingston. Maybe yours truly. But Taz, they hit the ring. They call out Sting. Now, speaking of snow, even down there in Jacksonville and here and all over the country, the snow hits. And what does that mean? The Stinger. The Stinger comes out. The snow is falling. It's snowing in Jacksonville. Who knows what's going on with everything. Now, Sting comes out. He gets in there. Out of nowhere, Sting, tired of BS, 60-year-old man, still in great shape. We know what's being set up for Revolution. Sting picks out Cage, the biggest guy in the ring, and starts throwing rights and lefts and taking it to Cage's ass. And I got to tell you, the Stinger looked pretty good. But out of nowhere, Starks grabs the bat, which just happens to be laying there in the ring after the Stinger attacked Cage. I would have used a bat. It's 1-on-3. You're 60 years old. What are you doing, Sting? But on to my point. Starks comes up behind. You knew it was going to happen. You saw it coming. Starts choking out Sting. It's all over from there. Cage picks up Sting and gives him an unbelievable, vicious power bomb, if you saw it last night. I rewatched it again this morning, and let me just tell you something. Sting could still take a bump like nobody's business. For him to take that at 60 years old, I don't know if he's taking DDP yoga. I don't know if he's hanging out with Paul Roma. I don't know what he's doing. But Sting certainly took the power bomb, and it was unbelievable, which leads us to Cage and Sting at Revolution. If I'm not mistaken, I may be ahead of myself. It's about time that Sting got physical. Everybody's been calling about it. Everybody's been bitching and complaining about it. All the different people out there complaining about everything. They have the brain of a turnbuckle out there on social media. Have nothing else to do. I get it with the snowstorms. And again, not bashing anyone, just giving my viewpoint. When's Sting going to get involved? The guy's 60 years old. Can you be? Everyone going to be quiet now? Are we going to turn it down, tone it down a notch, and get off everyone and just enjoy the product and all the different companies? And that Sting is back, and it's a different alternative. So that's what was going on there. I enjoyed it. We lead into an Eddie Kingston promo. And again, I alluded to a few minutes ago, there's nobody that really does a better promo than Kingston, with the exception of very few in today's day and age, whether it be Jericho or MJF and the different guys that I alluded to beforehand. But Kingston lays out a promo on what's going to happen between Lance Archer and the different things that are coming on, leading into the six-man tag team match. And, of course, the heat that he still has with Moxley, and we know what's going to happen there. From there, after Kingston has the promo with the Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny, and we know the history if you were watching, especially AEW Dark, that's where the storyline developed. They go to Kenny Omega and Callis and Nakazawa. at a grammar school. Now, to me, Omega's supposed to be the cleaner. I get it. He's a smartass, and Callis is the brain, the hand. I understand. But they got him at a grammar school with a bunch of third and fourth graders reading stories about the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho and how they ruined the business, and the teacher saying to Kenny Omega, "Oh, can you stay?" And he's like, "Oh, I have to go now." Him and Callis and whatever voice he used in Omega, it made him look soft, if you ask me. It's just my opinion. It was funny. It's entertaining. A lot of people want in-ring entertainment and in-ring ability. But this is what goes with it and what makes AEW different, and that's why they've merged with Impact, and that's why I think it's an excellent product for what they're trying to do compared to your alternatives here in 2021. I mean, if you're an old school guy, I don't know how you can not like AEW or different other products that are out there, MLW, Ring of Honor, NXT. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're paying attention to unless you're going back and watching hundreds of hours of stuff from the 70s and 80s and 90s like I do to research the product. And I don't know what else to tell you. Get on your game here, fellow people out there in the IWC. So Omega goes to leave. The kids ask him to stay, and the teacher, and they said, nah, maybe Nakazawa can stay and tell some more stories. And they blew him off, and the arrogance. And you know who would go good with Callis and Omega? You heard it here first on Chaos Corner at 40 minutes in. MJF. I could see MJF and Wardlow with Callis and Omega. And listen, maybe it doesn't make sense, and maybe MJF doesn't even belong with Jericho. But if you're going to do it that with the Inner Circle, why not put them together with their attitudes and the holier-than-thou narcissistic attitude? I think that might be an idea, and I know that you're listening. I know that you are. I enjoyed it. It's a combination of entertainment. I understand. Thanks for staying here, guys. Show number 35, live to tape. This will be up today, or actually later on today. We move into what I was looking forward to, and I was saying on several shows back where I consistently cover AEW, the Young Bucks, the AEW Tag Team Champions, and Santana and Ortiz, proud and powerful. Now, this is something I've been looking forward to, that I've wanted to see recently I've been talking about it for a while. They come out with the whole Inner Circle, Jericho, MJF, Hager, Wardlow. Listen, Callis and Omega and the Good Brothers are also backstage watching on the monitor. This was an unbelievable bout. I like all the talent involved. These guys are the ones that are carrying AEW. The different things that stood out to me. Proud and Powerful hit a street sweeper. Yes, I'm not going to make the Bully Ray comment about giving me 6 spots and I'll fuck up 5 of them. We already know that. But the street sweeper they hit on Nick Jackson was unbelievable. Matt was lucky to break it up on there. It was an excellent match. The power bomb that Matt into the crowd that Proud and Powerful did on them, where the Jackson family were in the crowd at AEW at Daly's Place, again, was another incredible move. The bottom line is there was an inside cradle throughout the bout, which went on a good 15, 18 minutes, maybe longer. Inside cradle on Ortiz for the win, and the Young Bucks retained the title. I wanted to see it. I thought it would be, although I'll give it 4 out of 5 stars, I thought it would be a 5-star match, and I'm hoping that we're going to see this again. The bottom line is the Young Bucks retain the towel. Retain the towel? What am I at, a Mike Tyson fight? Or Conor McGregor? Or Nick Ortiz? Or somebody's throwing in the towel? No. The bottom line is they retained the title, the Young Bucks, in a big victory over Santana and Ortiz. Afterwards, Inner Circle, you knew it. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to even be the Guardian of Chaos to realize that they're going to hit the ring, and they attack the Young Bucks. Out of nowhere, Omega and Callis, I said they were watching, and then the Good Brothers, who are supposed to be, part of Too Sweet and the whole Bullet Club and all that stuff. They came out to make the save, I guess, as they strolled out there and acted like they could care less. By then, the Inner Circle had beat down the Young Bucks, and I believe Silver or Cutler, somebody else ran out there. Somebody else from the Dark World Order ran out there. Jericho, after the fact, outside the ring, got in the Young Bucks' father's face, and they had a little face-off there. So I enjoy what they're doing. You can't beat it, and it was an excellent match, but that's what came out of Young Bucks defending their title against Proud and Powerful. Then we go, Cody comes out, goes to the announce table. It's nice to see him there with good old JR and Excalibur and Tony Schiavone. Again, a great team. I really think they add a lot to it, although I'll complain about it again. The noise, the fake noise, the live noise, cavernous, whatever it is there, it's drowning those guys out a lot. So I hope they're paying attention to that. We have FTR against the Sydal. So I believe this might have been one of their first times, if not their first time. Matt and Mike Sydal had the opportunity to choke out Matt Sydal a couple of times myself over the bottom rope in a couple of different matches. No offense, Sydal. You're doing great. Matt and Mike Sydal, say that 3 times fast, take on FTR, which we know is Wheeler and Harwood. Now, we know that they've been on suspension for all the issues that have gone on with Jungle Boy and the Jurassic Express and Luchasaurus. And I still can't even believe that Jungle Boy went over on Harwood. That was a major upset, and you see they're really giving Luke Perry's kid the huge push, and again, reminds me of one of the Von Erichs or Steve Simpson back in the World Class Championship Wrestling days. Go back and research it. Really giving them a push. So they come back after the suspension. There were some incredible moves in this match, the Sydals and FTR. No Tully Blanchard. I did notice that. A lot of leg slaps from the Sydals. I'm not critiquing it. That's new age, old age, this age, a constant. I'm not critiquing it. Just something that really stuck out, and it's really noticeable is the leg slaps. I'm just saying. It's really noticeable. But on the positive, Matt Sydal with a moonsault outside that was unbelievable. It shows that this kid still has it. Wheeler with a full Nelson suplex on Mike Sydal was unbelievable. Mike Sydal also, again, I'm going to say it about AEW. It's just been the theme through the whole show here. Off the top rope with a reverse body press, and it was a damn near botch. And I get it with the weather, and it's outside. But again, the ref is no control in the match, allowing it to get out of hand. And that's what happens. The end of the bout comes with a double-team big rig by FTR on Mike Sydal for the pin. Harwood actually pinned Sydal. But what I take out of that, there were some great high-impact, unbelievable tag team maneuvers. No control by the refs, which has been a constant in AEW. The leg slaps, the high risks. I don't understand that FTR is so grounded, and they're being taken out of their game against the competition of certain teams in AEW. And I personally think they may need different competition of guys that are going to keep it in the ring, which is FTR is what they're known for best. You understand what I'm saying? After that, for the victory, the lights go out. Again, people use this. WWE was best known for this. The lights go out, and out of nowhere comes the Jurassic Express. So here comes Marco Stunt, Lucha Express. They hit the ring and they attack FTR, and we know that that's leading into Revolution because of the whole history of Jungle Boy and what happened weeks back and the suspension, and that's the big announcement out of there. So Jurassic Express, which I could take them or leave them, but they seem to be big stars with the fans and with the front office. So again, they will take FTR out of their game. So that's what I saw out of that. But not a bad match. Entertaining for what it is, and that's why I'm here reviewing it on this show. We go from there. I want to end up coming up with the final here because the final part of it was the best part of the show, and that's what makes you always keep coming back, and I like to keep it in chronological order. To close out the show, and this is what AEW does, and that's why I talk about emotional investment, ring psychology, storytelling, always bringing people coming back for more, making people stand there and sit there at the television or YouTube or whatever device you're viewing it from and like, well, I got to see that next week. It's must-see TV. And this is what they did. The Good Brothers, I don't want to get ahead of myself here because the Good Brothers come out at the end. I want to make sure that I get it. The Good Brothers come out at the end and they attack Moxley. But I am missing something here. The 6-man tag team match that I have to cover. Omega at the Grammar School fans, bear with me. Take a break. Don't go anywhere. We're only 48 minutes in and a lot of views and subscribers and things going up on the channel. So stay here because I have to get this out to you. We talked about the Omega Grammar School. I still can't get over that. That's good. We're going to talk about Impact, hopefully, because of the whole connection. We talked about the different things here. Oh, Impact was really good, though. I have to say that to say this. Let me get down to the different notes here. FTR and the Seidel's, we talked about that. Here we go. We talked about Sting and Darby. How could you do this, Chaos, and keep the hold on, guys. No one's going anywhere. It's a snowstorm. You're not going anywhere. If you can listen to Jim Cornette for 2 or 3 hours, you could listen to me for an hour. This was the main event, and this is what I wanted to talk about. Okay, after the whole debacle of what happened with FTR and Seidel's and then Jurassic Express, we lead into, they run down the Revolution pay-per-view card. The Face of Revolution ladder match is going to be included on March 7th. It's going to be unbelievable. The winner will get a shot at the TNT title for Darby Allin. The first people that are announced for the tournament, the Lucha Brothers, Penta will be in the tournament. Cody Rhodes will be in the tournament. Scorpio Sky will be in the tournament. It's a 6-man tournament, so there's still 3 more people to be announced, 3 more grapplers and stars to be announced for the Face of Revolution ladder match, which will be held at Revolution on the pay-per-view coming up in a couple of weeks. Also, we talked about it, it's going to be a big money match, Matt Hardy and Hangman Adam Page. Listen, the money's on the line. It doesn't get bigger than that. From there, we know we have Team Taz, Cage and Ricky Starks taking on Sting and Darby Allin in a street fight. You're not going to want to miss it. This sets up to be unbelievable. And then the tag team titles are on the line as the Young Bucks take on MJF and Jericho with Wardlow in their corner. It's that match right there. The Inner Circle against the Young Bucks ought to be worth the price of admission alone. Also, Shida, the defending AEW Ladies Champion, will take on the tournament winner, which I think is either going to be Aja Kong or Thunder Rosa. You heard it here first. Also, they would go to, after they run that down, this was the preview, this is what AEW Dynamite put out, that's what I'm giving to you. We go to the Moxley promo. Now, Moxley cuts a promo, like I said earlier, like nobody's business. Fans, I hope you're still here on show 35 for this review. Moxley calls out Omega, calls out Eddie Kingston, and calls out Kenta. And you know what? Coming up in a couple of weeks, before we get to Revolution, okay, which is March 7th, I believe, Revolution is going to be unbelievable, that pay-per-view for AEW. Before then, next week, February 26th for New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong. We all know about it, and if you don't, you know about it now. Kenta takes on Moxley for the IWGP title. Here's the big influence of Jericho, Callis, Omega, Kenta now, and all the different things that are happening here with AEW and the conversion and submersion and coming together, collusion, if you will, of whether it be with occasionally NWA or, of course, Impact and what's going on there, and now New Japan. This is great things on the horizon in the world of professional wrestling. So Kenta addresses that. You're not going to want to miss that for the IWGP title. This opens up a whole bunch of other things that I've mentioned earlier, of maybe Sonata coming in, or Ibushi, or different Japanese stars, the different stars that are legends that maybe come over here and now take over those feuds from Japan over in the Orient over to here in the United States and in North America. It will be something to behold. Stay tuned. I'm excited for the future on that. So that was an unbelievable promo, which leads us into the main event. We're under an hour here. The Butcher and the Blade with Eddie Kingston and the Bunny against Lance Archer with Jake the Snake, Moxley, and Phoenix in a 6-man tag team match. Now, this was an unbelievable bout. Again, I can't stress it enough to go back and watch it from last night. The carnage in the ring, the different camera angles. It was hard hitting. It was outside of the ring half the time. The Archer and Phoenix top rope spots, although they were, I don't like to use the word botch, they were dangerous. They almost got hurt. Who knows if they didn't get hurt? The risk, I keep telling it, with the new stars, the new grapplers, this company, and all the stars of today's pro wrestling, whether it be independent, major leagues, or otherwise. Why risk it? Archer almost got hurt. Phoenix almost got hurt. I understand that's lucha libre style and different things and high flyer, and this is 2021, but in this main event, those couple of spots by the Murder Hawk Monster and Ray Phoenix were unbelievable. And then the Archer senton outside the ring. Now I know why in Japan this guy was such a star, why he hasn't caught on here yet, but he is now. AEW made the right move with the Murder Hawk Monster. the senton outside the ring was a sight to behold. Also, the different things that I saw in the match that stuck out to me. The series of moves by Phoenix. I've seen him many times in the independents. I've watched a lot of his videos, and especially since now AEW. I knew about him long before that, as a lot of the fans do if you're an insider and you're paying attention. The series of moves that Phoenix pulls off is he could be one of the best lucha libre stars right now, grapplers of that style of all time, and I can compare him to Rey Mysterio, and I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that about Phoenix. He really is unbelievable what he brings to the table, and the Lucha Brothers in general. So his series of moves were unbelievable. I can't say enough about this match. The bottom line is Mox and Kingston, at one point, you knew this was going to happen. They got personal in the ring. But going back and forth, hitting their big moves, back fists, so on and so forth, but not really selling. I noticed Mox didn't really sell a whole lot. Neither one of them jumped back up. Eddie did a little bit more selling in this match, but not a lot of selling by a lot of today's stars. And when you get hit with these moves and false finishes and different things like that, I just don't see a lot of selling. And I didn't see some of it in this match. Although a great match, I'm just giving the critique, the observation of what I pick up on with my 30-plus years of what I watch. Not that I'm right. It's just my opinion. You don't like it? Like I said, change the fucking channel. I don't like to say that, though. So, again, Mox and Kingston, we know that's leading into the future, too. The bottom line is Mox pins Kingston. Okay, he got the double underhook, face buster. I don't know what they call it as Mox's finisher, but that's what it was. An unbelievable six-man tag team match. And AEW Dynamite hit it out of the park. And now that's when I lead into the best part of the ending of the show, where the Good Brothers come out after Mox, Archer, and Phoenix get the win. And they go off into the sunset. Mox stays in the ring. He's the last one. You know, Mox trying to soak it up. Here come the Good Brothers, and they attack him after the match. And this is what I was talking about with the close and making you want to come back for more, which will be apropos for here on show number 35. Callis and Omega come out with the contract for a rematch at Revolution between Omega and Moxley. Again, I told you this will open up the door for the future, and I'll get back to what I want to talk about with the contract and the ending of AEW Dynamite. Ibushi, Nato, Sonata, Kenta, keep those names in mind. Besides Konnichiwa. What's going to happen at Revolution in the contract after they attack and hold Omega, Moxley down. Omega's in his face with Callis and the Good Brothers holding him with the contract. And here's the announcement to end off the show, and they go off the air at Revolution, the AEW pay-per-view. It's going to be unbelievable. This has been added to what I already reviewed. Exploding barbed wire death match for the AEW heavyweight title. Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley. I said it. Exploding barbed wire death match. That's something that WWE and Vince McMahon would never do. I've been involved in a lot of hardcore matches. 10-man barbed wire match with the legendary Homicide and Jason Knight and Balls Mahoney and third-generation grappler Fred Curry and Kurt Adonis and Low Life Louie and the New England Beast Bull Dread and the list goes on and on. I know what it's like to be cut with barbed wire, and you see what AEW did in its very first pay-per-view in that unbelievable barbed wire lights match with Omega. I'm excited about this and what it opens up. That's what's happening for Revolution, and that's how they went off the air. Unbelievable overall wrap-up as I'm coming up on almost an hour here on show number 35. I'm going to take a quick break, take a deep breath here in Chaos Corner. It really was, and I did cover back. I'm sorry about the interruption there. I had to circle back, cover back, but I want to make sure I get the information out there for those that didn't watch, and you can break this down in less than an hour. So what AEW Dynamite's doing with Impact and now New Japan and what's going to happen with NWA, who knows, but it really was something to behold. So show number 35, live to tape. We're coming up on an hour. I really wanted to throw in Impact and the different effect and the different results from Full Surrender. And maybe I could come back and do that because Full Surrender from Impact, or I'm sorry, and I screwed that up on social media too. No Surrender was an unbelievable pay-per-view. I covered it in show number 34 what was going to happen at No Surrender, and I went down all the matches, and it's been a couple of days since then, and then I waited to watch the Fallout show on Impact on Access and on Twitch, and it was a damn good Fallout show, so it was all with a couple of days ago, so I'm going to try to get back to Impact. We know that on Impact on Access, and I'll quickly do it here as we're at the hour mark. The Rich Swann, Tommy Dreamer match from No Surrender was unbelievable, and what Tommy Dreamer continues to do at 50 years old is incredible. He talked about it on Busted Open Radio, and a lot of props and respect to Tommy Dreamer. And for Rich Swann for giving him the chance, but Swann retained the title. Go out and watch No Surrender. Go see the video highlights on Impact and the whole connection with AEW. Swann defended against Dreamer, and Dreamer took incredible punishment. James Storm and Chris Sabin versus Private Party with Matt Hardy and the Good Brothers. Incredible at No Surrender. The bottom line is the Good Brothers retained the titles, the Impact titles. It was an unbelievable match. There were a lot of different things that happened. Now, Anderson pinned James Storm. You're going to have to go back and check it out. You're going to see the unbelievable moves by Private Party. Matt Hardy even got involved and hit a twist of fate on James Storm while being distracted by the Good Brothers. A lot of heavy offense, but a great three-way tag team. Storm and Sabin, Private Party with Matt Hardy and the Good Brothers. Good Brothers retain the title. Another six-man or six-woman tag team match. The current Impact champion, Deonna Purrazzo, Kimber Lee, and Susan, the former Su Yung, against Thick Mama Pump Jordan Grace, the pro wrestling legend Jazz, and yes, the Wild Woman returning. Although I don't have breasts, I have pecs. Look. I don't have to jump up and down, but ODB returned. Listen, a lot of outside spots, a lot of splashes from Jordan Grace and Jazz and ODB. It really was an entertaining match. It's nice to see the legends and current stars, Deonna and Jordan, and a legend like Jazz and ODB. It really was something. Jazz made Su Yung tap. So that was the bottom line. Jordan Grace, Jazz, and ODB went over on the current Impact Ladies Champion, Deonna Purrazzo, Kimber Lee, and Susan, a.k.a. Su Yung. Jazz still has it, and she made Su Yung tap. So there's a lot to be said for that. What I didn't talk about in the Dreamer bout, and I know I said I wasn't going to cover this, but we're over an hour now. I might as well cover Impact because it's related, and it was such a good product and a good show. Moose came out of nowhere and attacked Tommy Dreamer. So there's a whole big storyline there, and we'll cover that on the show, the storyline between Moose and Dreamer and the matchup that they had where Dreamer got legitimately injured during the bout. He mentioned it on Busted Open Radio, and he still continued. And what they're making Moose into the character that he is now in Impact, they should have done it a long time ago because Moose is an undervalued, underrated, and underused creative talent guy that's a pure athlete that they're not using the right way, but maybe they will now. And the storyline with what they've been doing with Moose, and then Dreamer on back-to-back nights against Swann and Moose. That's why I give props to Pops, Tommy Dreamer, who kendo sticked me and Singapore caned me several times. I didn't forget that, Dreamer. I know I mentioned it, but I didn't forget it. For other Impact highlights on there, another from the Fallout show. Listen, we knew this was going to happen. They were former friends. They trained together. They have a podcast together. Memorabilia, dolls. Myers and Cardona. They confront each other on Impact Access after the Fallout of No Surrender. Cardona went over on Hernandez. He hit him with a radio silence for the pin. Hernandez ends up attacking Cardona as Myers just basically watched. And then Eddie Edwards comes in to save Cardona. So you know it's going to lead up to a matchup between Myers and Cardona. That's what I've seen coming out of there. And if you haven't seen the X Division grapplers and what they're doing in the X Division and Impact, you're really missing out. And again, not necessarily, it's like a 205 live, but much more improved. And they've always had a great X Division. But to see Willie Mack and Trey Miguel and Suicide and Davari, whether it be on the No Surrender pay-per-view or the Impact on Access, was unbelievable. And Trey Miguel is the guy that's going to go for the X Division title against TJP, which leads me into TJP and Josh Alexander, who were also in that No Surrender X Division matchup. Josh Alexander is a beast. He really is. Bottom line is TJP is still the champion, and you're going to see TJP against Trey Miguel for the X Division title. That's something. And then here's why I continue to mention this, and I know I'm jumping all over the place here. The New Japan Effect, IWGP, whatever you want to call it, Juice Robinson and David Finlay showed up at Impact. The Good Brothers came out, had a lot to say at the end of the show, talking about, oh, you remember us from the G1 final, the New Japan, IWGP, as I said, they called them boys. And don't get offended, not playboys, cowboys, boy toys, it's none of the above, okay? Fat boys, none of the above. That's a Japanese culture slang word in the wrestling community for someone who's carrying your bags, who's green, who's a rookie, who's still in training, and that's what they were referring to when they were talking about David Finlay and Juice Robinson, who are huge over in Japan, especially Juice Robinson. And they answered back saying, hey, well, that was years ago and things are different. We're no longer boys, and we're not in Japan now. So you see what's coming out of there. The Good Brothers, who are everywhere. They're all over. And I got to say, I'm big fans of the Good Brothers and their work. So I'm bouncing back and forth between the coverage of No Surrender for Impact and the Fallout show to give you all the information here from Impact. A lot of different things and great things that are happening with the different talent. The Dreamer Moose match, I did talk about that. Different things that I wanted to talk about. We talked about thank God I ended up getting back and talking about Kenta and Mox and everything there. We talked about the Inner Circle. The huge spear, I'm just going to allude to it, that Moose gave on Dreamer and the Fallout show for the win is unbelievable. Choke slam by Moose on Tommy is something. Different things that I wanted to talk about. So that's what we have here, fans. I ended up getting in what I wanted to get in. We're a little over an hour and 6 minutes here on show number 35, live to tape, same day coverage on the YouTube channel of the Guardian of Chaos, who definitely, if you're part of the female audience out there, I definitely stumbled. How many times you think? 3 or 4 times. I didn't take a break. I didn't have any hauls. I didn't hydrate. I didn't do any of the things that the GOC normally does. But the bottom line is, I'm glad that you guys were here for me to cover AEW Dynamite, Impact, Chaos Corner, and everything else that we do here in the IWC and podcast land. I'm going to get out of here now. I'm going to try to make my way out of the bunker for this snowstorm. Follow me on all social media platforms. I say it all the time. On Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Rumble, on Twitch, on Gab, on DLive, on new streaming services. Keep an eye out for me. I can't thank you enough. Again, look, we're coming to the end of show number 35, and look what happens. The chains fall off here at Chaos Corner as I'm about to be released out back into society, out back from the bunker. Thank you again. And remember, I am the Guardian of Chaos. I do tell it like it is. And I'll say that to say this. Don't you dare miss it.